Okay, this is part 2 of the previous video I made. So, this is going to be clarifying a lot of the things I said and a lot of the context of things I was doing. So, for example, the point of, oh yeah, Itachi wasn't a maniac, I was referring to Sasuke, how they changed his character arc 3 times rapidly. Like, for example, it started out as a simple goal. He kills Itachi, restores his clan, restores his the Uchiha's reputation. That was my point. But then they went away from that and made him a genocidal maniac, going against what his goal was. And Itachi's I'm a hero motive made no sense. I explained that a bit in the other video, but I'm going to get into it. They needed to add Danzo and slander the third Hokage in order to do it. So they literally just had to retroactively add shit that makes no sense. I explained this in the previous video. Just go watch that. And I'll probably have it linked in the description, most likely. But this is going to be a better audio quality than the last one. As the last one, I was very tired and I was busy that day when I was recording it. I think it was like a month ago. I just didn't post it because it seemed kind of off to me. I think that's what it was. But back on a topic of the rant. Boruto. I think I explained this in my other video. Oh no, I didn't explain this in my other video. So this is gonna be something new for the people who are watching this for the second time. It's not gonna be just a pure clarification. All the children are clones of their parents. You're gonna be like, no, Boruto's a clone of Naruto pretty much. He has several different character traits, like him being very fucking bratty, but that's not a positive character trait to add. That's a negative one. And all these. And like I explained in my other video, there's no tension because we know 20 years later Boruto's fine. Another thing which I was reluctant to bring up, and people are going to say, Obito's a better villain than Zabuza. My point of that was Zabuza's humanization and emotional breakdown was more impactful and more meaningful because of the fact that he was this monster. While Obito's kind of craziness and insanity made no sense. He barely even knew this girl, yet he's causing a fucking war and killing thousands of people over her. It makes no fucking sense. I already explained why Madara giving Nagato his eyes makes no sense. There's no place in time which that could happen, which was what my point was. Another of the things is Itachi being. I always use Itachi as a positive example. Like, post I'm a Hero, Itachi is a positive example for what a villain should be. A villain should have very close ties with the hero and have, very close ties with the hero. That's what it should have. Very close ties with the hero, and that is what the motivation should be. It should be a motivation. That's what your villain should be. It should be a long-time motivation, and once they beat that motivation, it will give you a higher echelon of motivation. So then the next villain will be some other psychological battle. So they did this pretty well for Itachi, because Itachi's a villain of Naruto, yes, but it's specifically an arc oriented to Sasuke. Let me go back on the point I was saying about Boruto. Every one of the kids are clones. Shinkamaru's kid is literally just Shinkamaru. Gaara's kid is literally Gaara, but less edgy. But he's less edgy because of the context of the narrative, which I think is fair. They made him less edgy, but he's literally just Gaara. Like post-evil Gaara, but he's not post-evil Gaara. Walk Lee's kid is Walk Lee, but he's like nervous and shit for some fucking reason, because he's like a schizophrenic or something. I don't really fucking know. These medical definitions are dumb, but he's like has anxiety or some shit. He's literally just Walk Lee otherwise though. That's my issue with the next generation, I guess. Every character that is part of the next generation, if you will, is clones. They're unapologetic clones of one another, and a lot of my arguments are pretty simple in the other video. Pretty simple to analyze and or kind of get like looking back. And like I said, I think I mentioned this in my other video, when they had the meteor scene, when the meteors were falling down when Madara was doing this, it made no sense, because they had to voice it make such extremity. when I think to a certain extent they could have had took advantage of being a visual medium and had it be a visual representation of like just have sudden shock. Everyone just looks, opens their mouths, and you can kind of see that they're screaming. You don't need to show it. Just the reaction and the scale of it would have been better if they made it as just a silent scene. There's scenes you can do silent, and there's scenes that you can't do silent. This is Faints of Lightning. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in my other video. Like in Super, there's times you need dialogue, there's times you don't. Super is an example of times you don't need dialogue. There's times where they do clarify certain things, but most of the time they're just like, oh man, he hit him really hard. It's like, yeah, we can see that. You don't need to explain us how he's getting hit. They do this a lot in Super. They have the people just tell us what's going on. And it makes no sense even in, like, why are they telling everyone? They could clearly see that they're getting hit pretty hard. So I don't get the real reasoning. This is becoming a rant about Super again. But I'm saying that's an example of what not to be. An example of what not to do with expository dialogue. Expository dialogue is supposed to add in or explain elements so it can give you better context of what's going on. So when the scenes of extreme tension and extreme angst happen, you don't need that dialogue because you are understanding what is happening at the current moment, and all you need is the reaction and the tension that comes with the scene. Boruto doesn't have any tension because 20 years from now he's fine. Thank you for eliminating all fucking tension that the show possibly could have had, and any entertainment I possibly may have had from the show because of you admitting the fact he's alive 20 years later. Why is this bad? Maybe, okay, depending on the genre, right? It's all dependent on genre, right? If you're in an action show, which is highly based off action and fighting and these type of life or death stakes, like it or not, that's what the action shows are based off of. It eliminates tension. Action and adventure shows, if you eliminate that sense of uncertainty, you lose stakes. So if you're in a romance show or a slice of life type of show, and you show them 20 years later, and they'll find and they'll getting together and everything, that spoils the ending and it ruins it. So in general, I think it's just best you play out the story. You don't show the future. This never works in any story. Terminator doesn't even work well on. Even though they do time travel. It's not time travel, but it's in general when you show ahead of time. It makes an expectation you have to go towards. And it never is good to do. But it's just utterly dumb that they do this. It eliminates all tension in adventure and action stories. Which Boruto is an adventure and action story. So they eliminate all tension. So we got these clone characters of original characters. I think they should have just had kids. I think that was a good idea. Next generation, let's go. Let's start some new characters. Let's get some new dialogue. Let's get some new stories. Let's go. Get these stories down. Get some new characters. Get some good characterization. Get some new reason for enjoyance, a new generation of watchers, a new generation. But no, what they do is they copy and paste. They do this copy-paste style of writing, and it's shitty. They say, then there's Kale, which is bully with tits. They have, what's his name? Gene, which is, and Sai together, mixed together, because they can't have original characters. And this is what bugs me. They can't originally write characters. And if you're making proposing this as the next generation, you gotta make it a new generation. Make it a new character. Make some new characters instead of just copy-paste her. I don't like copy-paste styles of writing. It's shit and boring. Shit and boring to watch. Another thing is it's Sasuke got a Dragon Ball in his eye. Like he literally got a revival jutsu. He can use that at any time, running rebirth. He can use that at any time and revive anyone. But it causes a lot of life and it could possibly kill him. If he has no chakra, it can. But in the circumstance he would use this, he would obviously have chakra. And he's a fucking god, pretty much, at this point. So, it's kind of illogical to say. And we're at the point where we're done with the relevance of a ninja facing the struggles of living in a ninja world. We're done with that. We're in a point where Ninja God is in the ruling, and everything goes and says by Ninja God Naruto. And that's just how it is now. It's not the same story of a ninja struggling to get by in the world. It's a god trying to. It's what they did with Goku. This is what they do with shonen characters. They just progressively turn them into Superman over time. Not saying not to Superman. I'm saying what they do is they just progressively over time satirize the character in the series. This is with any show. Any series. Work over time. The medium itself eventually gets satirized. This is with any fucking thing. Name something that's died out. Name something that's died out. Like, look, in the 90s, think about the early 60s, 70s, 80s. Name something, actually not 80s, because there's still stuff from the 80s that are all around, because people from the 80s are still alive. 70s, let's go 70s. Name a piece of writing from the 70s that isn't dead. I mean, Godzilla's a good example, but Godzilla's so fucking iconic and hasn't stumbled much. But most of the time, a lot of these older properties make these kind of mistakes, and then they die out. People forget about them. This is what's gonna happen. We're gonna have a big renaissance of people loving anime, loving this, loving that. 60, 70 years later, 2020 or 2200, whatever, long time away. This all shit's gonna be irrelevant. Back on topic of the fucking rant. Zabuza is a way better character than... Oh yeah, back on topic of Zabuza being better than Obito. Obito is such a bitch. Like, he gets so fucking mad over one girl he barely talked to dying. It's like, dude, it's such a dumb fucking motivation. It's not the fact that he cried over her and shit. It's like, it's one person that you barely knew. And like I said in my previous video, I'm not one to care about morality, but it's really fucking petty and childish, it seems like. Kurama, for example, the evil Nine-Tails. Oh yeah, I'd never mentioned this, but Minato having access to the Nine-Tails form or whatnot makes zero fucking sense. But they just do it anyways, because fuck it, they don't need exclamation or reason for things happening. Because they hit that cell rating. Because they're hitting like, what's it called? Fucking Fade Apocrypha levels of lighting. Actually, no. I'm being really fucking harsh if I'm calling it that level of lighting. It's just bad because they don't need to explain things. That's what they're hitting. They're hitting Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z was good, so what the fuck am I talking about? It's just sad because I'm like, whoa, how does he have this power? Explain. They don't explain the slightest. No exclamation, no reasoning. As such, whenever I use like a versus debate or whatnot, I'll just use fucking base Minato. The Minato form makes no sense and it has no confines in the narrative. Makes zero fucking sense. Naruto had to work and progress and establish a relationship with Kurama and gain all this kind of emotional connection with the beast over time to even come close to achieving this type of form. And he just achieves it effortlessly, which is a fucking disgusting thing to do, especially considering how much development Naruto has had. Especially considering everything that has been done up to that point. Obito is objectively right, but he's objectively right in my opinion. His father sacrificed himself and pretty much let his mother die and everybody die for some reason. And he has points that are right, but why he's doing these things and the reason behind why he thinks this way is dumb. It's really illogical and retarded. People are going to be like, it's not, but it is. That's what people don't get. It's illogical. It makes no sense for why Obito thinks these things. Zabuza was raised in a cruel village where everything was torture and everything was evil and malevolent. And it was called the fucking Bloody Mist, for God's sake. And that's why it made sense. His motivation and the fact that, everyone is a tool by some way or extent. It made sense within the narrative that he was being told in. And when he breaks down, it's just shocking because of how his character was. It's a shock. It's a reaction that you wouldn't expect. And it does get explained. And it just is a fucking great fucking part of the show. And that's just my opinion. And Haku is an example. We're going, as an example, was it's Zabuza's motivator. It is to a certain extent. It is what confines Zabuza to humanity. That's what still kept him sane and somewhat humane. And that's what kind of made him interesting. He had some amount of humanity to him, even though he was such this big monster and this demon of the mist, if you will. He still had a human side to him. That's what made his character interesting. Obito's just this crybaby bitch who whines about a girl who died 20 years ago. It's fucking retarded. And the third Kage or whatever, the fucking rock village, the old fucking grandpa, he could fly. But if he could fly, why is never having anyone else fucking through in Naruto history? It makes no fucking sense why no one has ever flied then. But they don't need to explain things. Why doesn't he, or how does he know this technique? Can you explain anything? No. Exclamation in television is bad, because you can't have reasonings to having actions be the way they are. I'm going to explain this more in depth right here, but Sasuke, right? His part 1 motivator, I explained this good enough in my first video. His motivator was, yes, I'm going to kill my brother and reestablish the clan. So the second step was, I'm going to become a genocidal maniac. And how do you write yourself out of that circle? He's just like, I'm a good guy now and I want to become Hokage. For no reason. Just no motivator, no reasoning. And then they just, like, fuse, like, the flame style and the fucking whatever style. And it's like, yeah, this is Inferno style or some shit. And it's like, oh, God, this is just so fucking horrible. They had to extrapolate this narrative so bad. They had to fucking change his character so bad. Like, so much. So they can have a memorable Team 7 scene for anyone who watched the original Naruto. And anyone who watched the original Naruto doesn't like it, because what made the original part 1 interesting is the dynamic, and they no longer have that dynamic that they did in part 1, making the whole fanfic kind of change of his motivation and change of his character kind of retarded. So there's that. What made Team 7 interesting was the dynamic. Now that they don't have that dynamic, that scene means nothing to me. But they're going to continue. People are going to come to the comment section and probably, if they do, they're probably going to be like, it made sense because he yada yada. And they'll probably just extrapolate one thing or another, which, again, won't make any sense because he didn't plan a lot of the Sasuke's character. He kind of just made it up as he went. And the fact that Uchiha had such a, what's it called? Not poetical, such a reinforcement in the story. It's just amazing that people still think the Uchiha are unbroken and on OP. They're like, oh yeah, but it's just a few members. But we are shown the capability of what they can reach is insane. We've seen the potential they can have, and it's insane. And it's just kind of, and another thing is, it's sad when your rival has more knowledge. Like, you have more knowledge on your rival's family than Naruto's. Like, Naruto's the main character, yet we have very little to no knowledge on his clan. Like, we have very little knowledge on the Uzumaki clan. And I thought the Renegon would have been interesting if it was, like, Naruto's Sharingan, right? Because it would have been the kind of antithesis to Sasuke's Mangekyo and everything that was going on. It would have been just a great antithesis to what was going on. And instead of that, we have to have the kind of fanficky kind of bullshit that is the gods and the god tree and the 10 tails, all that type of fucking shit. But I didn't really explain as much as I would like, but I can't really think of anything to extrapolate or explain upon. This is Bob74HG Alt-White Millennial signing off. I hope this kind of compensates for the kind of better upload. Thanks a lot for watching, and bye.